You hired a team and you thought that that would finally buy back your time. But somehow you're the one still answering every question, solving every problem, making every decision. Why? Because hiring people doesn't solve your problem. Structure does. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly why most founders stay trapped in operations even with a full team and how to fix it. So most founders believe the answer to overwhelm is just hire more people. That's what I thought too. I thought if I just hire, more smart people, they'll take things off my plate. And you know what? They were truly smart, but they didn't take things off my plate, and it was my fault. And so I'm gonna explain why that was my fault. So here's what actually happened. Like I said, I did hire great people. I paid them well, and I handed them tasks. And within a few weeks, there goes my Slack, my Messenger, them calling me, just things blowing up. Hey, George, what do you want to do about X? Fill in the blank. Should I approve this? Or do you have a second? And I go on and on. I was drowning in interruptions, but the truth is that I didn't have an execution problem. I had a design problem. So you can have a 10-person team. In my case, I had up to 40 people and I was still the bottleneck in everything. Why? Because you're playing the manager role, not the architect. The goal is to become the architect. So as long as every decision flows through you, you're not leading a company. You're managing a to-do list with assistants. And this can drive you crazy because it drove me insane. You become the approver, the solver, the fallback plan, the mental load for everyone else's priorities. Everything falls on you. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts, if you can imagine that. So how do you break free from all this? Now, here's the shift. You don't need to help doing tasks, okay? You need people who own the outcomes. That's huge. I'm going to say it again. You don't need help doing tasks, all right? You need people who own the outcomes. Now, let me explain and break this down. So, when someone owns a task, they ask, how do I do this? Or can you approve this? Or what's next? Okay. Now, when someone owns an outcome, notice the difference. They ask, what result am I responsible for? What resources do I have? What constraints should I stay within? You see the difference? And then they go. The right question isn't what do I delegate? It's how do I design the organization to run without me as the filter? Now, that's a completely different level of leadership. Okay. So I remember I was rebuilding my org chart after this brutal 2, 3 a.m. wake up call. I've had several different ones. Um, and this stuff would happen while I'm asleep. And I came to the realization that I'm still so central to the business, but at the time you're not thinking, let me restructure this thing. At the time you're just like in panic mode trying to fix the issue so you can just get back to life without being interrupted for like 10 minutes. You're not thinking ahead as far as what I need to do to avoid this. So I did these three things. I redesigned my organization chart so that there's no more everyone reporting to me. Okay. I created three clear outcome zones in sales, in delivery, and operations. And that's just my business. Your business might be different, but that's my business. Each had a leader with authority and autonomy. So we defined outcomes, not just tasks. Every role got a success profile. Okay, here is what success looks like in your role and which results were the ones that they owned. No job was, do what George says. Okay, because you start putting yourself in as the one to come to for everything. That's what they're going to do. That's going to be their knee-jerk reaction. Okay, that's how I operated my business, probably going on 20 plus years in this case. So what I did is I installed accountability infrastructure and weekly scorecards. Okay, so we did ownership reviews. We did clear red, yellow, green metrics, and the result is I was no longer the bottleneck, and I was able to travel more, spend time with my family. I was able to start other businesses, invest in other companies. Just enjoy time off without being bombarded by messages. How amazing would that be? So, here are a few traps that I see over and over again when working with 7 and 8 figure founders. And I've consulted nine-figure founders. I've even spoken with billionaires about this, and they just don't get it. Okay, there's the they just don't get it syndrome. Okay, there's no clarity, and that equals confusion. Okay, when they don't get it, they're going to be confused. Or there's overlapping roles where nobody owns the outcome. They're thinking maybe they own it, or do I own it? And when there's confusion, they don't want to step on each other's toes. Okay, and that's just poor leadership. I've been there. I've done it. I've made that mistake so many times. You're still the source of truth. You haven't documented or delegated properly, and that one's key. If you can document your processes, that's going to make your life so much easier. And I thought I was doing some of that, but it wasn't. Yeah, that's a whole video and a whole like lesson in and of itself. But documentation and SOPs are key. And then, there's this micromanagement disguised as helping. That's where you train your team to depend on you, and you want to get away from that. Okay. The sooner you get away from that, the better. I can't explain the type of freedom that I've achieved, or it's hard to put into words and convey the type of freedom that I've achieved when I put all this stuff into place. So, the structure removes you from the equation. Doesn't mean you disappear. Doesn't mean you go off and do nothing. Obviously, when you're buying back time, you can do whatever you want with that time. My recommendation is you structure this so that you are a better leader and that you're able to cast more vision on your company and the direction that it wants to go, instead of being the bottleneck, instead of being the guy that gets the calls at 2 a.m. What do I do? Server's burning down. I don't know where else to go. Okay. So if you want to stop being the bottleneck, first thing you got to do, and if you don't do this, it's not going to work. Okay. You got to audit your interruptions. You got to track who's coming to you. What are they asking? If you audit your interruptions, it's going to completely reveal exactly where you haven't fully delegated or designed yet. It's going to reveal, well, where the leaky buckets are in your process. Okay. The second step is you got to define the outcome. Okay. Clearly define outcome zones. Group your business into 3 to 5 core outcomes. Like I said, in mine, it's sales, delivery, and marketing, operations. You might have more, you might have less, but just define what are those departments. And then step 3 is you got to install the ownership, okay? And give each leader 3 things: a clearly defined outcome, the resources to execute, and the authority to make decisions. For example, on the decision making, I was approving labels, I was approving sales copy. I told them if it looks good enough, let's go. If we need to modify later, we can do that. These aren't life or death for the business type decisions. Another authority to make decisions: anything under $1,000, I don't want to hear about it. If it's a customer refund, if it's maybe the purchase of a new item that's going to help things run efficiently, I give them the freedom making, decision making abilities to do that without bothering me. If it's over 1,000, then maybe it's something we need to look at. But I guarantee you, out of 50 or 100 things that they want to do that cost money, a very small percentage of that is going to cost over $1,000. Step 4 is you want to hold weekly accountability. Use something simple like a scorecard or a dashboard, something that'll indicate green, yellow, red, to indicate the status of things. There's no hiding, there's no surprises, everybody can see it. So this is exactly what I help founders do in my programs, and I've put the full blueprint in my new book. So if you're a 7 or 8 figure entrepreneur and you are tired of being the bottleneck, just like I'm the poster child for the bottleneck in a company, and I'm also the poster child for the one that broke free out of that. I want to give you a copy of the buyback time formula for free. It's a physical book. All you got to do is just cover the shipping and I'll send it to your door, but I want to get it in your hands. It's a physical book. Go through the pages, tear it up, rip it up, make notes. You see the link there on your screen. It's buybacktimeformula.com/YT book. Inside, you're going to get the time liberation trifecta. This one's amazing. You're going to get my personal freedom audit framework. This is going to reveal where your time is going, because it's hard to just, you sit there and you have to think, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. This is going to essentially get it all out of you to see where your time's going. Also, we're going to be discussing some, automation and some delegation templates. So this isn't, some AI course. AI is great. AI can help things move and run more efficiently, but AI can't be like this default go-to to delegate or offload things off your plate. There are still a lot of situations where you need a real person managing the task. Sure, AI can help that person be more efficient in certain things, but AI cannot be your go-to for eliminating things off your plate. Sure, there's some things it can do, but just my fair warning on AI, because I know that's the rage right now. So, in addition to that, you're going to get case studies of real founders who've bought back 15 to 25 hours per week. Because freedom doesn't come from just hiring people and here you go, take this task or that task. It comes from designing a business that runs without you. Okay, so look, you're not lazy. Obviously, if you're watching this, you're just overloaded. Okay, and I've been there, and there is a better way. So if you are ready to stop being the bottleneck, just like I was, and you're ready to start being the architect of your business like I've become, grab the link. You'll see it in the description. Grab the book and let's get to work. You can leave a comment if you have any questions, but I look forward to seeing you on the inside.